Riding single track trails can be amazing. It's the most fun you can probably have out on your e-bike. Simply finding that flow on the trail can't be beaten. Here's our 10 tips to ride single track faster. When it comes to riding single track faster, it means that you've got to pedal. You really need to think about where you're pedaling. There's tree stumps, rocks, roots, things like that, runs a risk of getting a pedal strike. So look ahead and plan where you're pedaling. Pedal strikes are really common out on the trail. A really good technique of gaining the extra clearance on the bike is by learning how to back pedal. Backpedaling raises that crank and raises the pedal over the object on the trail. Keeping your head up is vitally important when it comes to riding the trails. It allows you to think about things such as line choice, where you're going to pedal, where you're going to coast, and braking zones. Other things you might want to think about is gear selection, gear choice, power mode, and dropper seat post height. A great way of riding a really gnarly section of trail is by actually clearing it completely. In front of me here, we've got quite a root infested trail, so it means if I pick my way across it, it's going to be quite slow. But on my right hand side of the trail, I can see a big root kicker, meaning that if I hit this committed, I can actually clear the whole root section and continue on down the trail with a lot more flow and a lot more speed. Single track's often ridden by riders of all mixed skills and abilities, meaning that usually one line is used the most. But the problem is with that most used line, it's often quite blown out and quite eroded, especially in muddy conditions. You can get a lot of water and mud sit on that trail. Whereas here we've got a split trail. The high line is nice and dry. It's got a downhill slope into it, meaning that it's going to inject a lot more speed when it comes to exiting the trail over the lower line, which a lot more people have been using. It's really muddy, it's really blown out, so the low line is actually going to be way slower than this nice high dry line. When you're hitting the trails, you might want to think about dialing down that power. The thing is, when you're in turbo, the bike wants to lurch and power you out of control at a lot of the turns. If you turn down the power, the bike's going to be way more predictable. So get that power down. The bar flick is an essential skill to have out on the trail. It's a mini wheelie with a flick of the handlebars. Basically, it allows you to flick through those trees a lot faster than you would have done before, where you'd be hitting the brakes and inching your way between them. Faster riders will make you aware of what speed you can carry out on the trails. They'll use different lines and techniques, so try and copy what they do and try and stick with them when out riding the trails. That way you'll learn loads. When you inject too much speed into the single track, everything becomes a blur. You end up fluffing lines, blowing corners. You really need to think about flow and not how fast you can ride the trail. If you're riding too fast, everything's going to become at you 100 miles an hour and not give you any chance to think about what you're doing. Think flow, not fast. Comfort braking is something we're all guilty of when the terrain gets really technical. Just lightly dragging your brake levers isn't actually doing any beneficial braking to the wheels. What it is doing is disturbing grip and it's disturbing momentum in the wheels. Lay off the brakes and try and keep the momentum in the wheels, and you'll find that technical descending will come much, much easier. The bunny hop also comes in useful for hopping logs, roots, rocks, things like that on the trail. It's just going to increase that speed and open up a lot more possibilities for you. Whoa, so there you go. I really hope you've enjoyed today's video on how to ride single track faster. If you've enjoyed today's video, be sure to check out my race against Olympic superstar Grant Ferguson. That's up here. Drop us some comments in the box below, give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to EMBN by clicking the globe in the middle of the screen.